I never thought I'd be the guy to catch his wife cheating right before the biggest day of our lives. Stephanie and I had been together for 5 years, and honestly, I thought I knew her pretty well. She's always been a bit bitchy, a little manipulative, but I figured that was just her personality. Still, she was beautiful, smart, and so damn good at hiding her flaws. We were about to get married, and I thought, finally, everything was perfect. But looking back, there were signs I just refused to see because I was so caught up in the wedding planning, the excitement, the idea of us finally tying the knot. It started with little things: missed calls, strange texts at odd hours, a new phone she kept hidden. I never suspected anything serious at first, just petty little doubts that maybe she was talking to an ex or someone she didn't want me to see. But then, I noticed her phone vibrate constantly when she was in the shower. She'd always dismiss it, saying she was just texting her sister or checking social media, but her tone would change when she answered, like she was hiding something. I let it go for a while, convincing myself that I was just paranoid. After all, she'd never actually cheated before, and I trusted her. That's what made this so hard to accept. Then came the night of the rehearsal dinner. We were both so busy, so distracted, that I barely paid attention to her. She was acting a little more bitchy than usual, snapping at everyone, throwing fits over small things. She argued with her sister about the seating chart, then stormed off to her hotel room early, claiming she was tired. I stayed for a while, drinking with some of the groomsmen, trying to enjoy what should have been a happy moment. But a strange feeling gnawed at me, like something wasn't right. I remember looking at her room key on the table and thinking maybe I should just check on her, see if she was okay. I didn't want to ruin the night, but part of me was worried. Still, I told myself she was probably just stressed and needed some time alone. The next morning, I got up early to get some last-minute things from her hotel. I knocked on her door, but there was no answer. That's when I noticed the door was slightly ajar and I pushed it open. Everything changed when I saw her. Stephanie was in bed, tangled up with Mark, my best man. They weren't just kissing, they were going at it like animals, fully naked, bodies pressed together like they'd done this 100 times before. I froze, heart pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. It wasn't just a quick fling either. They looked so into each other, like this was their secret world, and I was the fool who didn't see it coming. I could feel my stomach turn, my mind racing. I couldn't believe it. My wife, the woman I'd trusted with everything, was screwing my best man, right in my hotel room. In that moment, everything I believed about her, about us, shattered into a million pieces. I stood there, staring, unable to move. My mind was a whirlwind of rage, betrayal, heartbreak. I wanted to scream, to punch something, but I just turned around and walked out of the room, feeling numb. I didn't cry, I couldn't. All I could do was replay what I saw over and over. The betrayal was so blatant, so raw. She lied to my face about everything, and I had been so blind, so trusting, that I let her get away with it for so long. That image is burned into my brain now, her, moaning softly as Mark's hands explored her, the sheets tangled around their bodies. No words could describe how I felt in that moment, but I knew one thing: I'd never trust her again. After I saw them, I didn't even bother to wake her up or confront her right then. I just left the hotel, drove home in silence, and the entire ride was like a blur. I kept thinking about everything I had missed, every little sign I ignored, every time I brushed off her bitchy attitude or her secretive phone habits. I kept replaying what I saw in that room, trying to make sense of it. How could she do this? How could someone I loved, someone I'd planned to spend my life with, so easily throw everything away for that asshole Mark? When I finally got home, I didn't say a word. I just sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut 1,000 times. My mind was flooded with questions and rage. How long had she been cheating? Was it just with Mark, or were there others? Did she ever love me? All those nights I thought she was upset or stressed, was she with him then? The betrayal cut so deep I didn't know if I could ever look at her the same way again. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all the signs? I was blind, I guess, or maybe just too scared to accept the truth. By the time she stumbled into the apartment, still dressed in the same bitchy, defensive way she always was, I was already a wreck. She tried to act innocent, like she didn't know what I was talking about, like I was crazy. "What are you talking about, Jason? You're overreacting. You saw something that wasn't there." Her voice was so dismissive, so full of lies it made me want to scream. But I was too numb. I just looked at her, and inside I felt this deep, burning rage building up. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what yet. Part of me wanted to confront her, tear her apart, demand answers. The other part just wanted to disappear, to run away from the pain. But I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. She crossed a line I could never come back from. The worst part was how she kept lying, twisting the story, denying everything, even as I had the proof right there. Her words were venom. "You're crazy. You're imagining things. Mark and I are just friends." As if I was stupid enough to believe that bullshit. But I saw it, I knew the truth. And the more she lied, the angrier I got. I started to realize that I'd spent years trusting her, giving her everything, and she was just playing me like a fool. That realization was worse than the betrayal itself. It was like losing my wife, my best friend, and my entire future all at once. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat there, thinking about everything I'd been through, everything I'd lost. I felt so betrayed, so humiliated. The trust I had in her was gone. All the memories, the plans, the promises, they all felt meaningless now. It was like I was living someone else's nightmare. I knew. I had to come up with a plan, a way to get revenge, to make her feel what I was feeling. But right then, all I knew was that I couldn't let her get away with this. Not without a fight. I wasn't sure what that fight looked like yet, but I was already planning it in my head. I just didn't know how deep her lies went, and I was starting to realize that the biggest betrayal wasn't just her cheating. It was her lying and pretending everything was okay when it was. The days that followed were a blur of anger, confusion, and a strange sense of clarity I never thought I'd have. I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. Every little thing she did annoyed me. Her snide comments, her fake smile, the way she acted like nothing had happened. And she kept lying, throwing out more bullshit about how Mark is just a friend, how she never meant for it to happen, and that I was overreacting. It was insulting, honestly. She acted like I was the one who was crazy or insecure, all while I was sitting there knowing the truth. She had slept with my best man, right in my hotel room, and now she was trying to gaslight me into thinking I was the problem. I knew I had to come up with a plan. I didn't want to just confront her again and get a bunch of more lies. I wanted her to admit everything, to feel the weight of what she'd done. So I started gathering evidence. A few days after the discovery, I secretly installed a hidden camera in the bedroom. I didn't tell her because I didn't trust her anymore, and I knew she'd lie her way out of it if I did. I needed proof, hard proof, that would leave no room for doubt. I wanted her to feel what I was feeling, the betrayal and humiliation on a whole new level. When I finally reviewed the footage, it was even worse than I thought. It wasn't just a one-time thing. She and Mark had been sneaking around for weeks, secret texts, late nights, lying about where she was. The camera captured everything. Her moans, her hands exploring him, her pretending to be innocent when she knew I'd find out. Seeing her like that, so vulnerable and exposed, made my stomach churn. It was like I was watching a stranger, someone I didn't even recognize. That moment I knew I couldn't fix this. It was broken beyond repair, and I had to do something about it. I decided I'd confront her with the evidence. I was furious, more furious than I'd ever been in my life. But I also knew I had to be careful. I didn't want to just yell or accuse her without giving her a chance to explain. So I waited until she came home from work, camera footage ready on my laptop. When she walked in, I was calm, too calm maybe, and I said, "Stephanie, I need to talk to you. I know everything. I saw the videos. I know you've been lying to me, cheating on me with Mark. How long has this been going on?" Her face instantly turned pale, but she quickly recovered and shot back. "You're crazy. You're just jealous. You have no proof. You're overreacting." But I had the proof. It was undeniable. I played the footage for her, watching her try to deny it, trying to spin some bullshit about how it was a mistake, how she never loved me anymore, how Mark was just there for her during stressful times. She kept lying, but I saw through every word. I felt a strange mixture of rage and sadness simmering inside me. She was so good at lying that at first I almost believed her again, until I saw the truth staring me right in the face. That's when the realization hit me hard. I'd been played, manipulated, and betrayed in the most brutal way possible. My wife, the woman I loved and trusted, was sleeping with my best man. Own bed. I didn't know what to do at that moment, but I knew I had to get her out of my house and think about my next move. The emotional storm was just beginning. That confrontation was the tipping point. Seeing her try to deny everything with that bitchy smirk, insisting I was crazy, made me realize I couldn't trust her anymore, not even a little bit. I told her to pack her things and leave. She was furious, shouting, crying, accusing me of everything from being jealous to controlling. She threw a tantrum, calling me paranoid and saying I was ruining her life over some stupid videos. But I didn't care. The fact that she had lied so much, so convincingly, made me realize that she was capable of anything. She wasn't the woman I thought I knew. She was just a manipulative, selfish bitch who got what she wanted. The hardest part was that I still loved her, or at least I thought I did. But seeing her like that, so unapologetic, so cold, made me question everything. My trust was shattered, and I felt like I had been hit by a freight train. I spent the next couple of days in a fog trying to process what had happened. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I failed to see that she was just playing me like a fool. I kept replaying that morning in the hotel, imagining her moaning and exploring Mark's hands on her body. It was worse than any nightmare. I'd never felt so betrayed in my entire life. That night, I sat alone in our apartment, just staring at the wall, feeling numb. I knew I wasn't going to fix this, not anymore. No matter what she said or did, my mind was made up. I was done. I couldn't live in a world where my wife was sleeping with my best man, lying to me every step of the way. I realized I'd have to cut her out completely, no contact, no regrets. It hurt so much, but I understood that the only way to get any peace was to walk away from her, from all of it. I knew that meant starting over, rebuilding my life from scratch. The following days were a mixture of planning and trying to keep it together. I started talking to a lawyer, thinking about divorce, thinking about what I'd do next. I was angry at her, but I also felt like I'd been a fool for trusting her so blindly. I thought about the wedding, how she'd been so bitchy and manipulative even then, and I wondered how I missed the signs. I felt stupid, betrayed, and honestly, like a complete idiot for believing she cared about me at all. But deep down, I knew I had to move on, no matter how much it hurt. I couldn't stay with someone who'd slept with my best man in my own bed. That betrayal was the end of everything I thought we had. It was clear now that I had to protect myself. I was done being the fool in a game I never knew I was playing. I didn't want her back, not after what I saw. I wanted to heal, to move past this pain, even if it took time. I realized that trust, once broken this badly, is almost impossible to rebuild. And I'm not sure I want to try anymore. All I know is, I'll never forget what she did, and I'll never forget how I felt in that moment when I saw her in bed with Mark. That image will stay with me forever, the ultimate betrayal. The divorce process was a nightmare, but honestly, I knew it was necessary. I wasn't about to stay with a woman who'd sleep with my best man and lie about it for weeks. The moment I handed over the papers, I felt a mixture of relief and emptiness, like I had finally taken back some control over my life, but at a huge cost. The pain lingered, though. Every day I woke up wondering how I let myself get so blind, how I trusted someone who obviously never cared about me the way I thought she did. It hurt to realize she'd been using me, playing her games, all while pretending to be the bitchy but innocent wife I thought I knew. In the aftermath, I started to see things more clearly. I stopped blaming myself completely, but I also knew better than to trust anyone so blindly again. Stephanie tried to come back a few times, calling me, texting, claiming she was sorry, that she'd made a mistake, that she still loved me. But I wasn't falling for it. I saw her for what she really was, a manipulative woman who'd lie her ass off just to get what she wanted. The damage was done, and honestly, I couldn't forgive her. It was too late for that. I realized that some betrayals cut so deep, they leave scars that never really heal. Still, I learned a lot from all of this. I learned to trust my instincts more, to pay attention to the warning signs I'd ignored for so long. I also learned that some women, no matter how beautiful or charming, are just not worth the pain they bring. And I learned that revenge isn't always about revenge. Sometimes it's just about walking away and reclaiming your sanity. I refuse to let her ruin me completely, but I also know I'll never forget what she did. That image of her and Mark in my hotel room will stay with me forever, a reminder that love can be a lie and trust can be broken in an instant. Now I'm building a new life. I've started seeing someone new, someone who's honest, kind, and doesn't play games. It's still early, but I realize I deserve better than someone who cheats, manipulates, and lies. Maybe someday I'll truly forget what happened, but for now I'm just focusing on healing. I want others to learn from my story. Don't ignore the signs. Don't let anyone make you doubt yourself, and most importantly, never stay in a relationship where your partner shows you she's capable of such betrayal. Because once trust is broken that badly, it's almost impossible to fix. And if you're in the middle of something similar, know that you're not alone. It hurts now, but time will help. Just don't let anyone treat you like you're invisible, because you're better than that. Looking back, I realize I've come a long way from that devastated guy who walked into his hotel room and saw her in bed with Mark. I thought I'd be consumed by anger and heartbreak forever, but somehow I found a way to pick up the pieces. It took months of therapy, reflection, and cutting out the toxic people from my life. I learned that betrayal cuts deep, but it also teaches you who really matters. The truth is, I'm stronger now, more cautious, more aware, and definitely more careful about who I trust. One thing I've come to understand is that the pain of betrayal never fully goes away, but it does fade. It becomes a part of you, shaping you into someone who knows what they'll accept and what they won't. I've learned to value myself more, to set boundaries, and most importantly, to never ignore the warning signs again. That bitchy, manipulative side of her. I should have paid attention to it from the start. Now I see how important it is to listen to your gut, to respect your own feelings, and to walk away when something doesn't feel right. I also want to say this. If you're going through something similar, know that it's okay to feel broken at first. It's okay to be angry, to cry, to feel betrayed. But don't let it define you. Use it as fuel to rebuild a better version of yourself. Trust is a fragile thing, and once it's shattered, it's almost impossible to put back together. So don't waste your time trying to fix what's broken beyond repair. Sometimes, walking away is the strongest thing you can do. Today, I focus on my future, not my past. I'll never forget what she did, but I refuse to let her take away my happiness. I've learned that some betrayals are so bad, they force you to reevaluate everything, and that's not always a bad thing. It's a brutal lesson, sure, but it's also a lesson in resilience, about realizing your worth and never settling for less. I hope everyone reading this understands that no matter how deep the betrayal, you'll survive. You'll come out stronger, and in the end, you'll find someone who truly deserves your trust and your love.